Hi, my name's Jim. I'm a narcissist. I have narcissistic personality disorder. Making these videos for anybody that thinks they may have this disorder or has been diagnosed with this disorder, or maybe you think someone that you know or care about has this disorder. Maybe you're a victim that you've been in a relationship, or you're currently in a relationship with someone with this disorder. Really, anybody who's trying to gain any kind of information. It's going to be my first-hand account. I'm not a licensed professional counselor, so don't take my word on anything. I'm just telling you the experiences I've had. I do have some other videos. The one is kind of how I came to self-actualize that I had this disorder, as well as how I came to be officially diagnosed by a professional with narcissistic personality disorder. Another one's just a quick little introduction. I did one about how I use manipulation, and that's very common with narcissistic personality disorder. And another one about how about the symptoms I don't identify with, because only 1.2% of the population is diagnosed with NPD, and it's kind of crazy, but there's a belief in the industry that you shouldn't tell somebody that they have it, which is kind of crazy. Imagine you went to the doctor and you just got a common cold, right? You just coughing, sneezing, you're like, yeah, doc, I don't feel so good. The doctor's like, nurse, I need to see you over here. This guy got a cold, and I don't know if we should tell him. What do I do? Right? Do I tell him? Do I not tell him? What do we do? Well, that makes no sense, right? But no joke. I mean, that's real, right? There's psychiatrists and counselors and therapists out there that believe it is detrimental to the wellness and the future wellness plan to make them aware. So with that being said, I felt it was really important for me to acknowledge the symptoms I don't identify with, because here's the thing: at the end of the day, you're not going to identify with all of them. It's just not going to happen. What I wanted to talk about today is one of the symptoms I do identify with, and I was only made aware of this recently by one of my victims, by somebody that I've done a lot of damage to. That I use this on a lot, and I had no idea I was doing it. She made me aware, and the more I research into it, the more I realized it wasn't just done; it was done maliciously. And I'm talking about using sarcasm and and passive aggressive jokes. And I was that person my entire life that was like, it's just a little joke, it's not a big deal, right? Which is kind of crazy, because if you have the same symptom I have uber sensitivity. I'm crazy uber sensitive. So you make a little joke to me and I flip my lid. But then I turn around and I'm like, well, it's just a little joke, calm down. What are you going crazy about? What's wrong with you? All right? And here's the thing: a lot of people use sarcasm and passive aggressiveness in a less harmful way. Let me not say harmless, in a much less harmful way. That is not how I used it. Now, very important is, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it was conscious or unconscious. The result is still the same, and the damage is still the same. So, here we go. So let me use an analogy. One of my friends used to fight MMA style, right? And he's a real big MMA fan, and he would go to the Buffalo Wild Wings and watch the MMA fights, and he'd invite me. And I was like, whoa, no, man, that's just too violent. They just get on top of each other with the ground and pound. I'm like, man, I can't handle that kind of violence. I can't do that. But, one night I'm like, yeah, let me go hang out, right? And it's crazy. They get there at like 6 o'clock. Those fights start at like 6 o'clock. They don't get done at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, they're like, man, it's like a whole weekend event. It's crazy. So we get there, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. There's no ground and pound. He just barely kicking this guy in like on the side of his leg. I mean, it looks like little baby kicks. And my buddy's like, that's strategy. And I'm like, what strategy are you talking about? Get on top of him, beat. And so I went from hey man, I can't handle all this violence. So what's up with these baby kicks? Get in there, you know what I mean? So we're watching one of these fights, and my buddy turns over to me. He's like, look. And I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with his leg? And he's like, see, it was strategy. So what he did was, he's doing these little, what I thought was harmless kicks over and over again on this guy's leg. And I mean, this isn't Rocky Balboa, right? They ain't 10, 12 rounds. What are they, like 3 rounds in the, in the UFC or whatever? But in that little bit of time, he effed this dude's leg up so bad, this dude could not put pressure on his leg. And he's like, watch, he about to F this dude up. Why? Strategy, right? That's what I was doing. I was tearing them down little bit by little bit, right? And whether it's conscious or unconscious, it doesn't matter. The damage is the same. Now, when I reflect on the times I did this, I noticed it was usually associated with a couple of different things. First, if I was with somebody and maybe something got complimented, right, to them, well, I wouldn't understand why I wasn't getting complimented. So I later would make one of these passive aggressive kind of jokes about it, right, to tear them up, trying to bring them down about it and push myself up. And I can look back and understand the flawed theory, but it didn't stop me from doing it in the time, which is important because, what's the best wellness plan for narcissistic personality disorder? We need to be able to identify the behaviors, identify that they were detrimental, and then of course we want change, and we have to find that way to change that behavior in the future, right? So I can now identify the harm that I was doing. And likewise, maybe there was a situation where we did something that they wanted to do, and God forbid it didn't go as well. Let's say you wanted to see movie A, I wanted to see movie B, and we fight, and if people with narcissistic personality disorder, you see what we want to see. That's what happens, right? But somehow, some way, we saw this movie A, and oh man, I don't know, you spilled the popcorn. Oh my dear Lord, you're gonna get like so many passive aggressive jokes, but I'm slowly beating you up that you'll never want to pick a movie again, right? That you're gonna let me watch whatever I want, and that's the manipulation, right? And that's how I use that passive aggressive, right? And again, the most important part is it doesn't matter if you're doing it consciously or unconsciously. I don't have to sit there and say, well, let me make this joke and I'll eventually one day be able to watch whatever movie I want. It doesn't matter if it's still the same result. It doesn't matter if that person that you care about and you love no longer gets to pick any movie. You're stealing that from them, right? It doesn't matter where it came from. It matters that there was maliciousness at the core of it, and damage was done. So that's one of the things I'm now looking at, and I'm trying to make that change in my life. I'm trying to acknowledge that these passive aggressive jokes and using sarcasm, is a core of my disorder, and it's something that NPD in my mind wants to do. So I'm trying to identify before I do it, and I'm trying to identify situations in the past where I would do it a lot, right? So what I want to do is, before I make that joke, I want to identify, oh wow, we're about to go watch a movie, and that person just said that they want to see movie A. Man, I've been down this road, right? I know I want to see movie B, right? And if we wind up going to see movie A, that's when those passive aggressive jokes are going to come out. That's when I'm going to start using that sarcasm, right? That's when I'm going to start kicking that leg, right? So I can ground and pound and get what I want in the end, right? So I'm looking for it before it even starts. And what the ultimate goal is, it's not easy, it's hard work, right? Being able to identify it, but the more I identify it, the easier it'll get to identify, right? I mean, that's the ultimate plan. So that's one of the things I'm now acknowledging. That's one of the things that I'm doing my best to invoke change. That is one of the things that I want to ground and pound this disorder. I'll be honest with you. At the end of the day, that's what I want to do. I want to get in that UFC ring with this disorder, all that, and I want to get that thing around, right? And this is one of the ways I do that, right? This is how I win. This is how I get that wellness plan on track for a better future. And of course, I don't want to ramble on and say the same things in every video. But when you have narcissistic personality disorder, there's kind of three options, right? You let this disorder run things, and you're going to live down here. It's there's just no two ways about it. It's going to take jobs from you. It's going to take relationships from you. You're going to find yourself doing, cursing or getting into fights, with people in retail establishments, getting arrested, right? It's going to take a lot from you. Do you have to get arrested to have narcissistic personality disorder? No. Do you have to get arrested to be down here? No. But if you're letting the disorder run your life, you're down here, right? Some people will acknowledge, hey, I don't want to be down here. And they don't even have to acknowledge they have the disorder. They're just going to be like, man, my treating people like crap all the time and doing all this other stuff, man, that gets me down here, right? I can't hold a job. So what if I just did the bare minimum to have my girlfriend not dump me, or do the bare minimum to not get fired, and I'll put you here, right? It's just bare minimum. That's, and that's your existence, bare minimum, right? But if you acknowledge you have this disorder and you try to meet the challenges and make a different future, because that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to identify the challenges of the disorder and change the future behaviors, right? We can't change the past. That damage I did to that girl, I can't change that. I can't take that back. All those sarcastic comments that hurt her, I can't take that back. All those passive aggressive jokes that beat her into submission, I can't take that back. I can't change that. But I can change how I treat people in the future, right? And when we do that with everything with this disorder, that's when we get up here, right? Am I saying you're going to be the king, right? You can get voted president? I'm not saying that. But you know what? When I think about where I've been the better part of my life down here, and where I see things going, when I'm on top of my disorder and I'm in the driver's seat and I put that motherfucker on the mat and I ground and pound it, it's just the difference of night to day. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to change my future, right? I like that analogy. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna put that disorder in the octagon. I'm gonna ground and pound that thing. You guys have a good one.